Hello and welcome to the Link Building Show, episode 39. In this episode, we've got Brett here and we'll have a great discussion about the quality of data in PR. Brett, welcome to the show again.
Hi there, Ferry. Great to be here. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Good to have you. Good to have you. Always a good chat with you. So what are we going to talk about in this episode? I think you have kind of prepped a few questions.
Especially with something regarding something that's quite relevant. So, in PR, specifically, the accuracy and the quality of data. And if you look at something that's happened quite recently, that, Musk's acquisition of Twitter, but he's been complaining about the number of bots that are in there. And then you've got Rand Fishkin at SparkToro who did their analysis. But the main thing that I pulled out of that, that was really huge, and that data was taken up by numerous places. But when I went on Twitter, when I went on LinkedIn, the discussions around the actual quality of, Rand Fishkin's data, SparkToro's data, and people were knocking it and tearing it to pieces and saying, this is impossible, this can't be, this is wrong. And it just steps, it makes me step back and have to, consider that, you really need to be 100% accurate in order to try and make people as happy with the data results as possible. And that obviously speaks to PR, that he's been taken up and, getting legs and running. So my first question would be what would you do? What does SI do to mitigate, that from happening in terms of getting quality data?
I think the quality data, the first step to getting a quality data is by making sure the sources that you are choosing are trusted sources. And what I mean here is government sources are the ultimate way to get quality data. And from there, make sure you have a great data person who understands the data and who can, extract accurate stories from the data. Because, with the data, you can use it to tell a story in 1,000 different ways. And the way we tell the story is really important because we can make assumptions based on the data, but the person who is doing the data analysis needs to make sure that they double vet everything and all the actions that we are using to curate and sort and ask the data questions are proper methodologies and properly checked, not just by the data team, but also our head of PR will double check everything. So that's how we make sure the data is accurate.
And that obviously speaks to why the journalists and publications are so keen to use our data, and why it gets legs and goes out there so rapidly.
Yeah, indeed. In time, your reputation grows. The more consistent you are with stories that you provide to journalists that are accurate, the more likely it is that those journalists are going to cover your stories, in the future. That's why, why would journalists cover your stories? It's because, of course, just curating the data is a big task. They don't have time, to actually curate the data. That's why we come in handy, when we actually employ specialist people who are good with data and they understand data like a journalist would never be able to understand. And I think that's a big leverage that, a PR agency has got.
One of the terms which I actually thought of, we do a lot of, to basically sum that up, investigative public or PR, investigative PR. Yes, you can go and you can just gather some information and put it together, but it's to really investigate it and curate it and then, spin a story out of that and join and connect all the dots. That is quite an art form, and that's something that, that you need to learn. You can't just
absolutely
take 5 points and then you're splitting these things out. It really does take time.
Yeah, it does. It does take time, and it takes great systems in place. And I think that's why it's valuable for journalists, to make sure they use a PR agency, not just us. There's other PR agencies as well. Just use PR agencies that are accurate with data and that are most of the time reliable. We might make some mistakes sometimes, and many other people might make some mistakes, but then most of the time, I think just making sure we have the right systems in place to have an accurate data as an outcome of a analysis is important.
Definitely. And do you find okay, if you were to compare pieces gaining traction, the curated and investigative pieces that really gets put together versus just pulling off a latest trop fashion accessories and sending that out, which do you find's got longer pieces, longer legs, and gets taken up a lot more on a positive basis?
It depends. It really depends, because I would really like to say that like big databases are really like we spend 3 weeks on them, or like way more powerful in terms of landing links than shorter data sets. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So whilst big data sets can help us maybe increase the chances of securing better links, like higher tier links, it's not always the case, and it's not something that you can actually use as a prediction by saying like, oh, we're going to do this big analysis, like massive, like joining 2,000 tables together to create a very unique story, and that's for sure is going to land us like Bloomberg level links. It's not the case. Sometimes you have this big data set and it just doesn't land, and sometimes you have a quick Ahrefs based, search volume based story that will land 50 links. So it's really not the case, unfortunately, because that would be great. We could just hire super talented data people, and then we would know for sure that we land these big links just with their just based on their data skills. But that's not the case, right? You can still land links with smaller data sets as well.
Well, yeah, it is definitely a mix, just like content. It's all, what gets taken up by Google and what ranks. It's like a 50-50, and it's the same thing with this in terms of generating links. It's very,
Absolutely.
very interesting.
Awesome.
And what are the kind of resources and websites and tools for research, and especially people wanting, looking at free resources that don't have a lot of finances at their disposal, what are the best methods they can do to get these pieces together to do the research?
The best places are, and the first data sets that people should be investigating are, for the UK, the ONS data sets. They are unlimited stories. Like, you don't even need any other data set in the UK to land links apart from ONS. And then for the US, there's that gov.us data sets. Just Google it. That's the equivalent of the ONS again. For the US, you don't need any other data sets to start landing links. It's free data, it's out there, unlimited data, unlimited stories with these two sources. So if people don't have budgets for, like, I know, paying for a premium Statista account, or paying for even premium SimilarWeb, or like big data sources, then just go with the free version, like the free tools available, such as ONS. I'm a big fan of ONS, and gov.us. They're gonna provide you unlimited links, unlimited data for unlimited links.
Awesome. Really appreciate your insights and feedback.
Awesome.
And,
Superb.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, Ferry.
Thank you, Brett. It was nice to having you here. I hope this discussion was helpful, and looking forward to the next episode.